Narcissistic abuse, covert narcissist behavior, emotional manipulation, trauma bonding, gaslighting. If these aren't just buzzwords to you but lived experience, then you already know how exhausting it feels to fight for your own peace. You've tried explaining yourself. You've tried being calm. You've tried being loving. And somehow, no matter what you do, you end up drained, confused, and questioning your own sanity. That's not random. That's psychological warfare wrapped in charm. And in this video, you're going to understand exactly how to stop a narcissist from destroying your peace, not by changing them, not by winning arguments, but by shifting something inside you that makes their tactics powerless. There's a specific move near the end that flips the entire dynamic, and once you see it, you won't unsee it. Right now, the real problem isn't just what they say. It's what happens inside your nervous system after they say it. Your heart rate spikes. Your mind starts racing. You replay the conversation over and over, trying to figure out what you did wrong. You draft imaginary speeches in your head. You think of better comebacks 3 hours later. Meanwhile, they're probably calm, scrolling on their phone, completely unaffected. That imbalance is not accidental. A narcissist studies your reactions. They map your emotional triggers. They know exactly which button to press to make you spiral, and they press it lightly, almost playfully. But here's the part most people don't realize. Your reaction is the real prize. And if that's true, then what happens when the prize disappears? See, narcissistic abuse isn't always loud. A covert narcissist doesn't need to scream. They specialize in subtlety, a raised eyebrow, a sarcastic wow, a casual comparison to someone else who handles things better. It's small enough to deny but sharp enough to cut. And when you confront them, they flip it. I was just joking. You're too sensitive. Why are you always so dramatic? Suddenly, you're defending your feelings instead of addressing their behavior. That's gaslighting. It slowly disconnects you from your inner compass. Over time, you start asking them what's real instead of trusting yourself. And once that happens, they don't even need to attack you directly anymore because you'll start policing yourself for them. But how do you break that invisible leash? You break it the moment you stop asking them to confirm your reality. This is where most people stay stuck for years. You want closure. You want acknowledgement. You want them to admit what they did. You want that one honest sentence that proves you weren't crazy. But waiting for a narcissist to validate your pain is like waiting for a thief to testify against themselves. It sounds logical. It feels fair. It will never happen. And as long as you're waiting, you're emotionally tied to them. Peace begins the second you say, I know what I experienced. No debate, no courtroom, no jury. Just quiet certainty. And once you reclaim that certainty, something uncomfortable starts happening. The trauma bond begins to surface. Trauma bonding is the glue that keeps you attached to someone who hurts you. It forms when affection and pain are mixed together in unpredictable cycles. They hurt you, then they apologize. They ignore you, then they love bomb you. They insult you, then they say you're the only one who understands them. Your brain starts associating chaos with connection, stress with passion, anxiety with love. You don't just miss them, you crave the emotional roller coaster. Your nervous system becomes addicted to the highs and lows. That's why silence from them feels unbearable. That's why you check your phone even after promising yourself you wouldn't. It's not weakness, it's chemistry. And here's the part that stings. If you don't interrupt that chemical loop, you will keep calling it love. Breaking trauma bonding feels worse before it feels better. That's the trap. When you stop engaging, your brain goes into withdrawal. You'll feel restless, doubtful, lonely. You'll romanticize the good moments. You'll question whether it was really that bad. That's not clarity. That's your nervous system begging for the familiar chaos. And if you give in during that phase, you reset the cycle completely. But if you hold steady, if you tolerate that discomfort, something powerful begins to shift. The emotional intensity starts fading. The fog starts lifting. You start seeing patterns instead of excuses. And that's when the dynamic quietly changes, because they notice. When a narcissist senses they're losing emotional access to you, they escalate. This is predictable. They might suddenly act extremely kind. They might bring up old memories. They might apologize in a way that sounds convincing, but still avoids real accountability. Or they might try to provoke you harder than ever. Why? Because narcissistic supply is drying up, and supply is their oxygen. Your reactions, anger, tears, long explanations are fuel. Even defending yourself passionately can be fuel. The more emotionally charged you are, the more powerful they feel. So what happens when you remove the charge completely? This is where emotional neutrality becomes your shield. Not coldness, not cruelty, just calm detachment, short responses. No emotional fireworks, no defending, no over-explaining. Think of it like this. If someone keeps throwing a ball at you and you always throw it back with intensity, the game continues. But if the ball drops at your feet and you simply walk away, the game becomes boring. Narcissists thrive on emotional games. Boredom is their kryptonite. And when you consistently respond without drama, without visible hurt, without reactive energy, something inside them short-circuits. They either escalate desperately or they look for easier targets. But staying neutral requires something deeper than self-control. It requires boundaries. And boundaries are not loud speeches. They are quiet decisions. They are lines you enforce without emotional theatrics. I'm not discussing that. If you continue speaking that way, I'll leave. That doesn't work for me. Then you follow through. No debate, no convincing, no long paragraphs explaining why your boundary is valid. The power isn't in the words. It's in the consistency. And here's where it gets uncomfortable. Once you start enforcing boundaries, you will see their real personality. The mask slips, the charm fades, the guilt trips increase. That reaction tells you everything you need to know. But there's still one deeper layer most people never address. Your inner dialogue. Even if you go no contact, even if you set boundaries, even if you stop reacting, if you're still arguing with them in your head, they're still living inside your peace. The final stage of freedom isn't physical distance. It's emotional indifference. That's when you no longer need them to understand you. You no longer need them to regret losing you. You no longer fantasize about the day they realize your worth. You simply move forward, and that indifference, it's not cold. It's clarity. It's the moment you realize your peace was never theirs to control in the first place. Now here's the shift that changes everything. Stop focusing on how to control the narcissist and start strengthening the parts of you that were vulnerable to manipulation. Build self-trust. Strengthen your emotional regulation. Surround yourself with people who communicate clearly and consistently. Learn the difference between intensity and intimacy. When your standards rise, manipulation becomes obvious. When your self-worth stabilizes, gaslighting fails. When you no longer fear being alone, trauma bonding loses its grip. And when that transformation happens, something powerful unfolds. They no longer trigger you. Imagine them saying the same old line, the same subtle jab, the same guilt tactic. And instead of your chest tightening, you feel nothing. Not numbness, not suppression, just calm observation. That's the level where they cannot reach you. That's the level where your peace becomes non-negotiable. And here's the truth. Once you get there, you'll wonder why you ever fought so hard for someone who thrived on your confusion. You don't stop a narcissist from trying to disturb your peace. You stop giving them access to it. That's the difference. And it starts with one quiet decision, to trust yourself more than you crave their approval. If this resonated with you, it means you're already waking up to patterns most people stay trapped in for years. Stay connected. Subscribe. Because the more you understand these dynamics, the less power they have over you, and the stronger, calmer, and clearer you become.